Are you having trouble with the 3G MIG open root? Well, then this video is for you. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about the MIG root, MIG hot and fill pass, and the weave cap. I'm gonna go into detail on the root pass, how I hold the gun, a few things to look for, if you have to stop on a root pass, what to do to feather it, to have a good tie-in on the back end. Same thing, I'm gonna talk about the tying in on the hot or fill pass, and then we'll knock out the weave pass. I'll talk about how I hold the gun to better help me tackle this weld, along with a few other tips and tricks that can help you guys out. So let's get to it, man. Material prep is a must. Clean metal, clean weld. 1/16 land and 1/8 gap is what I'm using for this downhill root. But before I actually start talking about the root itself, I wanted to talk about proper line of sight, doing your dry runs, how I hold the gun, a few techniques and tricks that have helped me knock out this weld in the past. So this is the most motion I'm going to use for this 3G. The main thing that you want to establish is a good line of sight. You want to be able to see over that nozzle so you can see exactly where that wire is at. That left hand, I typically pinch the halfway on the neck of the MIG gun or towards the back end of it. I really don't want to put my hand towards the front. That's where all the heat's at, and that's how your gloves get burnt up, knuckles get burnt up. So you want to keep that in the middle towards the back, or have a heat pad to help you out with that heat. As you're establishing your line of sight, you want to visualize the weld like if it was already happening. So that way, when you hit the trigger, you can tell yourself, all right, I need to see my left puddle here, my right puddle there, top of my puddle right there. So it's not just a matter of getting from point A to point B. You want to visualize the actual weld. Being right-handed, I use my left hand to help me stay more steady and have a more consistent weld. I do use it to help me with my technique. Whatever technique that I'm using on my right hand, I do use that left hand to help me out with it. But this is all the motion that I use for this 3G. I break the wrists and use my fingers to curl the gun in or down, and then help me to push it up. That right hand, I'm gonna break at the elbow, just dropping it straight down and picking it right back up. All my technique and all my motion is coming from that wrist, my right wrist. Another important step, as you're going through your dry run, you actually want to go through your technique. Whatever technique you're using, you want to apply that motion as you're doing your dry run. A common mistake that I see people make is they try to give the MIG gun way too much angle, whether they're going up, down, left, right. 90% of the welds that we make, the angle that the MIG gun already comes with is all we need. So let's get into this root. As you guys can see, I have that wire at the bottom leading edge of that puddle, like I'm trying to pull the puddle down. At the same time, I want to keep an eye on the left and right side of that puddle. I want to eat up those edges with that puddle. To do a proper tie-in on a root pass, you want to feather off the weld. In other words, build a ramp. As you guys can see right here, how do you know you have a good ramp? Is by the color. If you look at the bottom of that ramp, it should have a purple or blue color that lets you know that it's paper thin, so that whenever you're running that root and you get closer and closer to that thinner part, you're gonna blow through before the actual keyhole. You never want to restart on an open keyhole. If you do, you won't have a good tie-in and you'll end up with something we call a fisheye or a weak spot. All right, before we get into the hot pass, I wanted to talk about the two-step, four-step. Two-step is one arrow going down, one arrow going up. Commonly the one we use on normal MIG, squeeze the trigger, start welding, keep welding. When we're done with our weld, let go of the trigger, stop welding. Four-step is 2 arrows on the left, 2 arrows on the right. And this is where we squeeze the trigger, let go of the trigger, and we're able to continue to weld. With this, it allows us to focus more on the technique, manipulating the gun, manipulating the puddle. As you're doing your dry run for your fill, hot, or cap, you want to go through the whole motion. As you guys can see right here, all that motion is coming from that right wrist. You want to keep that gun pointing straight into that open root, straight into that bevel. You don't want to angle your gun too much to the left, too much to the right. If you do so, you'll have a heavy weld on the left or heavy weld side to the right. As you're going through your hot pass, fill pass, you want to keep your weld inside of that bevel. So you don't want that puddle to go over the edges just yet. You want to pause on the sides using those bevels to help you out with that heat, filling up that bevel. When you first start off, it helps to get a count going. For example, 1 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi. But that count is just to keep you in rhythm, keep your weld more consistent. But what you're really looking for is for that puddle to catch up to you on either side. Going across the middle, you want to go across the middle pretty fast, but you want to control it. If you go too slow, that's how you end up with a high center on your weld. Your fill pass, you don't want it to go over those bevels yet. You want those bevel lines to be showing. That way you can use them as a guide. So when you start your cap, you go straight to those bevel lines, right on it. And same thing, you can keep that 1 count Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi. But what you're looking for is for that puddle to catch up to you. And as soon as you see it go over that edge, over that bevel edge, that's your green light to go to the other side. And right here, I'm just shooting across, going upward. It's like I'm trying to bring up 2 puddles up at the same time. And I shoot for the top of the puddles, top of the right puddle, top of the left puddle, top of the right puddle. Same thing, allowing that weld to catch up to me. As soon as I see it go over that edge, I move on to the next spot. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. More videos coming up. Let it shine, baby.